Oh,
Audible gasp. You're live. There we go. We are live with ultra low latency, courtesy of YouTube. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Maybe they need to fix your watches. You need to fix your watch, Lloyd. Yeah, how about that? Got him.
How about them apples?
A wizard is never late. He arrives precisely when he intends to.
Or something like that.
Fashionably late. Fashionably late. All the
Does
pink
that mean
shirts.
I'm fashionable?
You're more fashionable than I am.
Okay.
Well, I don't think that's a controversial thing to say.
I guess it depends
Let's
on
be
who
real
you're
here.
asking.
Yeah. This is on times I think you've ever seen you. What's up, Slink? How's it going? All dreams, Ben Laird. Lots of other familiar faces in the chat. Sorry, hello. Right, anyway. Hello. Ah, there we go. There's Chris Kingham with the $10 super chat. Thank you very much. These are the voyages of the Starship Adamant. It's continuing or it's 5-year mission? That's the question.
It's continuing mission.
Caradog has a new audio mixer and he wants to play. Would you like to continue, Caradog?
I've turned it off. It's fine.
Okay. I'm sure it's not the last we've heard of that today. I'm sure it's not the last we've heard of that. Right. Before we get started...
Hey, Google.
The clock is
ticking. Set a timer for 2 hours.
I have also set a timer for 2 hours. When the 2 hours is up, I'm going to hit stop streaming. So actually, I should have set it for 1 hour 50 minutes, actually, just so we've got a 10-minute warning. But yeah, come hell or high water, we are ending this after 2 hours. We're not doing another 3-hour stream. I realize that they're entirely my fault, but that doesn't mean that I don't want it to stop. So yes. And yes, Caradog is now on true XLR. Like, up until this point, he hasn't even had a cable connected to the mic. It's just a fake microphone. He's just been shouting really loudly. But... All right. Put my mug down. Right, how's everyone doing? Late again. You're late.
I mean, it's kind of the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's intentional.
It's a soft start, yeah. It's not a hard 1:45. It's about 1:45. Wrong mug. It was the wrong mug. I'm sorry, I forgot. Any VMUs to destroy this week? No more VMUs. I've got something even better this week. It's this today. We're looking at this. Maybe anyway. I might turn it on at some point. That's a Rampage 4 X79.
I was going to say it kind of looked like an FX, and I was just like, I guess
era.
they're kind of the same level of usefulness in 2021.
Ow. Well, also it's also got your I say your the palette GTX 780 that you spotted on the bench as well, and you're just like, palette, my people.
Yes. Although it's not mine because I never had a 780.
No, true.
Yes.
It's got a very, very bent thing on it.
I went straight into the 780 Ti. 2 of them, actually.
I was in AMD land around that period. I was still rocking 5850s and 6850s, I think. Did I have a 6850? I must have.
It boggles my mind as to how good is it the 7970 of something like that. Yeah, the 7970, how good that still is today, given it's 11 years old.
Yeah. What was the other one? I scored a customer came in with a it's a 6.9. A customer came in with a computer they wanted to get rid of during the week. They were like, we're chucking this out, do you want it? And I'm like, sure, I'll take whatever you're throwing out, and then I'll just throw it out, kind of thing. And it had a couple of good bits in it. It had this HD 6950 in it.
Nice.
A Sapphire 6950. I think this is absolutely no good for gaming now, because I think I think this is basically worthless for gaming. However, I'm going to throw it up on eBay because I bet it fetches an obnoxious amount of money for mining on or something like that.
Probably.
So yeah.
like the 7970, 7990, I can't remember. But one of those two, it's like 16% faster than a 1050 Ti today.
Really? That's
of
not
thing.
shabby. I mean, it probably uses more electricity than a small star, if stars used
yes.
electricity, but yeah. A good display adapter, yeah, in that it adapts your monitor to connect to your computer. If the definition of a good display adapter is the fact that you can adapt your display to connect to your computer, then yes, I guess it does a good job of that.
I mean, it is functioning as intended. I also just realized something.
Sure. Aha, yes. I thought you were looking a little bit dim today, but yeah. Spud Nugget, hope you had a good week. Thank you for the £10. I hope you had a good week. My week was okay, actually. I got some bits done. I had some wins this week. I had a bit of a fail today, which I'm a bit sad about, you know. I was doing a one-shot wonder today where someone brought up their computer for a repair, for a repair to be done, and I blew up 100 quid's worth of fans on it. So yeah, that went well. The actual repair was done successfully. However, when I was reassembling ARGB fans onto an ARGB triple splitter, the triple splitter was a 4-pin analog one, and they were using ARGB into that. And obviously you can connect that to an ARGB header on the motherboard. However, because there was 4 pins, I was like, oh, it's analog. And I plugged it into the analog header on the motherboard, which is 12 volts, and ARGB is 5 volts. So I blew up all the LEDs on all the fans in there. And I was like, I owe you some new fans. I'm sorry. So yeah. That sucks. And I'm really annoyed. Like, it's not a big deal. You can buy new fans, and there was far more expensive stuff in that PC. But it's just one of those like stupid moments where you're just like, I should have checked. I saw a 4-pin plug, so I plugged it into a 4-pin header. But I looked at the fans. I knew the fans were ARGB. I was like, I thought those were ARGB. Oh well, plugged it into the wrong port. So yeah, that's a bummer. But yes. Anyway,
it's just a new feature.
A new feature? What, the deleted message?
No,
the thing, yeah.
The anti
RGB. Well, yes. It was more of a sort of a half-hearted RGB, because after you plugged an ARGB fan into a analog header and you've plumbed 12 volts into it, you basically kill half the LEDs in the fan. So it sort of goes on and goes, oh, and like a couple of the LEDs will come on and some of them will kind of flicker a bit. And that's how you know you've completely goosed it. So did I lose money on that? Technically, yes. However, the rest of the video was a success, so I'll probably break even after releasing the video because revenue. But you win some, you lose some. It happens, basically. And you know, the customer was chill about it. He was very graceful about it. He was like, "Dude, it's fine. It happens." You know, and it's the same. And I'm super annoyed about it. But these things happen. You know, sometimes you blow stuff up. So yeah, but it is what it is. Ben Laird, thank you for the £5 super chat, just in case I missed that one. Then also another one from Ye Old Techie with the £5. Thank you very much. Which controller is primary when you have Asus Fan Expert 4 installed and using the H100i fan and controller supplied in the Capelix box? Ooh, they're fully independent from each other. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so if you have a Corsair H100i Capelix, it comes with a fan and RGB hub. Featured it on the channel very recently. That hub is fully independent and controlled from iCUE. So there is no primary and secondary. Sometimes a lot of fan hubs, like the one on the EK AIO that's in the computer behind me, the video's coming soon on that. Gamers Nexus beat me to it. Damn you, Steve. some of them connect to your motherboard, so your motherboard is the primary controller. However, the Corsair ones connect to the computer via USB, so they are fully independent and they're controlled from iCUE. So any fans that are plugged into the motherboard, you control them from the BIOS. Any fans that are plugged into your RGB and fan hub, those are controlled through iCUE over USB.
And I presume there isn't a way of tying it in, so it's not iCUE. Because obviously the entire reason that you're using it is because iCUE.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So yeah, you can get, no, you can, yeah, no, you cannot pass any iCUE stuff back to other things. You can route some things into iCUE, but you can't go out of iCUE into something else, to my knowledge. So yeah. Let's see. So the lesson here, kiddies, is always assume it's 5 volt until it's proven that it isn't. Yes, absolutely. And also just generally these days, always assume that it's digital because no one runs analog RGB anymore. Although actually having just immediately said that, I'm sure half a dozen people are now going to be like, I still have analog RGB. Because yeah, I said that about Molex.
Does anyone make it new? 12 volt RGB? Is any of it, like, iCUE's not 12 volt RGB?
No, because that's the thing. Like, you can buy cheap ARGB LED strips like this. This is £2.50 on eBay from China. So
and that's 5 volts.
Yeah, no one. So yeah, I don't think anyone makes 12 volt stuff anymore because you know the digital stuff is now the meta, and everyone's got digital headers these days. So yeah, there's basically no reason to run 12 volt RGB.
Why is analog RGB ARGB, not ARGB? And
I actually had
RGB. And why is digital RGB ARGB, as in analog RGB?
Yeah, I had a comment on this during the week where, because I use ARGB and digital RGB interchangeably, because ARGB means addressable RGB, where you can address each LED in the chain individually.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But why would you use A when the other one is called analog, supposedly? It's just like, what?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Come on, peeps.
For that reason, I often call it digital RGB. But I had someone in the comments that was just like, oh, it's not the same thing. But I think what they meant there was the fact that you could argue that analog RGB is digitally controlled by the computer. And it's just like, yeah, but it's controlled using voltage control levels, not a data signal. So I would call that analog. So it depends on your definition of digital and out. It's kind of like, you know, 3-pin fans are voltage controlled, right? The number of comments I've got on my PWM videos where people are going, 3-pin fans are still PWM controlled because that's how you step down the voltage. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, but you're missing the point. Yes, a buck controller is controlled via a PWM signal, but it's outputting a variable voltage, which is to all intent and purpose an analog signal. So, yeah, it's when people argue that analog stuff is still digitally controlled, I'm like, I feel like you're deliberately missing the point here. But that's the reason why there's confusion, because some people still go, well, it's computer controlled, therefore it's digital. And I'm like, yes, but also no, you know. So yeah, so I say ARGB because that's addressable RGB, which is how the product is marketed, as opposed to non-ARGB, which is analog.
I think that's why, because I've never been able to get it clear in my head, I will just continually refer to it as 12 and 5 volt.
Yeah. You know, the worst part of it is that 12 volt addressable RGB exists.
I'm sure it does. And it's just like, oh.
Just to ruin your day. Just to ruin your day.
Can I just bring up my usual point of Noctua fans are better?
What about my EK Vadas? Are those okay? Did you like those?
No. The spaghetti.
Yeah.
The spaghetti. Oh God, the spaghetti. But there is a delightful picture of that I feel you
Indeed.
should share. Just with the tape.
Yes, I can share it because it's in the Discord, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, hold up a sec. Yeah. Oh, so when were we doing this? This was Tuesday?
Yeah, I think so.
On Tuesday, Caradog dropped by the shop because we were recording the video for the EK that's been sitting in the background for weeks. We recorded before Gamers Nexus released. Anyway, I can see it now. I'm going to release that video, and all the comments are going to be like, "Been watching Gamers Nexus, have we?" I'm like, "No, I bought it before they did their video." Whatever. Anyway. Whatever I do now, it will not be as good as the Gamers Nexus one because they do scientific laboratory tests. So I've immediately lost.
Yeah.
But whatever. I do a different kind of whatever. Anyway, where's the heckin' picture? I'm gonna mouse over Caradog's face for a sec. Now let's just stroke Caradog. There we go. Okay, right. Exclusive chat because that's where all the cool kids hang out and see preview stuff. Da 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 da. Ooh. Roll back to Tuesday when we were doing it. Because, yeah, the amount of cable, the cable spaghetti, 6 ARGB fans, so that's 12 wires.
Annoyingly.
Yeah, and then there was, for a total of 14 wires going into the fan and RGB hub. Yesterday, man, you guys talk too much in exclusive chat. I'm having to scroll back really far.
Also, just all of the messages ever about Mazzaspin.
Mazzaspin?
He's a Formula One driver.
Okay.
Who is having a bad time due to entirely possibly technically not being good enough to be a Formula One driver.
Oof. That's a bit of an oof right there.
Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah, here they are. Oh, it's terrible. There we go. Right. So, okay. And stand by and bench and display capture. There we go. So there was the spaghetti hanging out the back, and if we just pull back here, that was me trying to cut cable tidy the back of the LAN Cool 2 with 14 wires going into the controller. So what we decided, we just figured we'd just put the glass on and just stick some tape on that. Just tape it shut, and she'll be right.
She'll be right.
Yeah, she'll be right. It's fine. So yeah, that's what we went for in the end. But just RGB, man, all the RGB. Incidentally, the TLDR is I did. Whoops, that's the wrong person. I just cancelled Caradog. There we go. The TLDR is I don't think 6 fans is worth it. I don't think it was worth it. After doing the test with both, it was 6 fans is slightly cooler, but I don't think the saving is enough to be worth the amount of cable spaghetti. And if I were building a computer, I would put 3 fans on the front and I'd put the other 3 somewhere else in the case. Which I haven't done on this one because I already had 3 other RGB fans, so I've just gone for the 6 fan config. But if I was someone who had a case with no RGB in it, I'd buy this, I'd put 3 on the front and 2 at the top and 1 at the back. And that's your RGB setup in one. So yeah, because 6 fans on the radiator didn't make enough of a difference to be worth it, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, it's measurable, but yeah, it wasn't worth it. What was I about to do? Oh yes, I was going to take a picture just to show that I had actually changed it. That's what Steve said. Yeah, pretty much. I'm kind of glad that I didn't watch the entire GN video. I kind of skipped through it just about because I basically wanted to check if Gamers Nexus had come to any drastically different conclusion than I had, because otherwise that might require me to rethink my video. I'm just taking a picture of the back now.
Yeah, just in case you'd kind of been like, "Oh my god, this cool is terrible. It doesn't work."
Yeah, because that would have required me, because if Gamers Nexus had decided that it was awful and I was trying to say, oh yeah, it's all right, that would be a bad time for me. Because yeah, I'm not gonna win that fight against GN.
It's especially considering we're aware of them having a significantly better process.
Exactly. However, yeah, as I say, I skipped through the video and they came to the same conclusion. It's a very good cooler. The 6 fans are not really worth it. However, the other thing as well is that GN don't care about RGB. Whereas obviously for me, I'm testing it from a perspective of someone who does care about RGB. So because they were looking at it saying, look, the Liquid Freezer 2 the Liquid Freezer 2 360 is basically better than this in half the price. That was essentially what they were saying. However, I'm like, yes, but the Liquid Freezer doesn't have RGB fans, and 6 RGB fans and a 360mm AIO for £200 is actually pretty good bang for buck, because three top end RGB fans, that's going to cost you £60 or £70 anyway. For 3 of them. So getting 6 of them, you could say 6 RGB fans for £100 and one of the best AIOs in its class for the other £100, the £200 price tag is actually really competitive.
Absolutely. It depends on kind of what makes up the value proposition to you.
Yes. I'm just going to cut in just to cover this super chat super quick. Rick Lakes, thank you very much for the $5 there. Hello, Graham and Caradog. Hello, Rick. How you doing? Sorry, carry on.
No, it's just it depends on obviously a case of obviously pure Celsius to dollar scale. It's a case of obviously the Liquid Freezer is substantially better because it's 90 or £100 sort of thing. Composed to 200, and it's basically the same cooling. It's just kind of 1.5.
Yeah. However, of course, if you're intending on buying RGB fans for your case, then suddenly the EK makes an awful lot more sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends on what you want, really.
Exactly. It depends on what the final result is going to be.
Yeah.
And he said,
I don't like that photo. I'm going to take another one. Yes, you've got to be careful with wording there sometimes, haven't you?
But it's like for my one, obviously the case of in this, it's literally on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Can't see through the case. It's flat against the wall under a desk.
Yeah.
It's like I might as well save the money.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Have you got the 360 one on yours?
Probably.
Or did you get the 280 or yeah.
I got whichever was the one down from largest, basically.
Yeah, probably the 280 then.
The 3 whatever.
Oh no, they've got a
420.
Yeah. Because it's not a question of who will let them, but who will stop them.
Exactly.
Because I think the general consensus is that AIOs are diminishing returns when you go past 280mm, aren't they?
Yes, I would assume so. I haven't seen someone explicitly test that.
Yeah.
So comparing a 240, 280, 360, and a 420.
Yeah.
So I've not seen anyone sort of compare those ones. Specifically on exactly the same pump and so on.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only comparisons I've seen is someone taking like X water cooler at this size and Y water cooler at a different size. And I'm like, compounding variables.
Yeah.
Your data means nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Just a side note, here's a picture of the EK fan hub, the fan and RGB hub mounted on a 2.5-inch plate. So I've got that at the back of the case now, and it mounted onto one of the SSD mounts. And so that fits in there really nicely. You can see it from the back. I did what I could with the cables, which is basically just try and get them under the covers as soon as possible. However, there's 14 wires going into that box. It's not a fight you can win. I almost feel like part of me wants to say, I don't know what are you supposed to do with that, man? It's impossible to cable tidy that. And because it's supposed to look pretty, you want to put it on show. And so I want to say sort of, oh, they've made it look pretty, intending you to put it on show, while simultaneously making it a device that is literally impossible to cable tidy. But on the flip side, it's like, what else could they have done? Have a breakout cable on it and that goes into a big old loom that you would then hide somewhere else? But then people will be like, well, that's dumb. Just put it all in the box. Now you just move, you know. Yeah, it's a tough one.
The only solution specifically would have been to have 4 cables in the box, which were 3 RGB, 3 fan cables, and then you could split that off if you wanted it. So you could then like hide the 3 fans that you've got somewhere at the front, and you've just got 2 cables coming out of the hub going somewhere.
Yeah.
And then 2 cables going somewhere else, and kind of that.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Case that you're gonna have to bury stuff.
Yeah. Put the hub on the rad. I guess. Yeah, that's possible. Or failing that, the other solution, of course, would have been just to include daisy-chained fans.
Which then kind of makes them proprietary, though, which is kind of less preferable.
Yeah, maybe. I've just realised I've covered up the thing with the chat. Oh, well. Yeah, maybe. Oh, well. Interesting device nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's I like it overall. And the other thing as well is just like the performance on this rig is doing very well, because while I was load testing it to get some basic performance figures for the cooler, and I've got a 5800X in that thing, and at full tilt, that setup with the airflow and all the rest of it, it was running 70, just over 70 degrees load, like 72, maybe 73, boosting up to 4650, about 46.5, 4.65 gigahertz. Now, by comparison, I've got a 5800X in my NZXT build at home, and that one with my Kraken X52 on it, so a 240mm water cooler that is starved for airflow at the front of the case because it's a solid front panel. The CPU runs at 80 to 85 degrees C, and it's pulling back to 4.5 gigahertz, sometimes dropping to 4.45. So this machine here is objectively faster by like nearly 200 megahertz, because it's got airflow. It's one of this, like it's almost a case of like, when I discovered that last night when I was doing some number crunching and actually looking at the numbers, and like I tried ramping all the fans up, I tried looking at them going, right, can I fix this by tweaking my fan curves? And I couldn't. And I'm like, that almost warrants a video just to show an actual real life example, like not just bar graphs, not just charts on a video showing this is the temperature we got on this one, this is the temperature we got on this one, like GN style, but actually show both computers running side by side and showing how this one is running objectively faster at a cooler temperature with the same CPU because it has airflow, basically. So yeah.
It's like you'd need 2 of the same AIOs though. Just to make it.
Yeah, true. I guess it's the combination.
To make it sort of more comparable, you'd need 2 of the same AIOs in use.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I think what I would probably do is I would wager that if, while running my NZXT rig, if I actually just took the radiator off and pulled it to one side so it was getting a cold air feed, I would wager it'll knock 10 degrees off the temperatures.
Yeah, basically.
Because as I say, I don't think the size of the AIO makes that much of a difference. I think that is literally just airflow. Because as I say, turning the fans up to maximum wasn't helping, and it should have helped.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But it's not specifically a case of, I'm saying that, the size of the AIO is the difference. It's just a case of obviously using 2 different ones.
Yeah. Yes, fair enough. Yeah, that's true. There's more to it than that. I think it was just a matter of here's a computer that is cooling optimized. Here is one that is not cooling optimized. And they both have the same CPU. Here is how, if you put a bigger cooler and an airflow case onto your rig, you will get more speed.
Yeah.
Objectively, you know. And like
certainly now with floating turbos being a thing on both graphics cards and processors.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. And also, yeah, but someone points out, yeah, daisy-chained fans are proprietary. The thing there is, I don't think they need to be, because an ARGB fan, an addressable RGB fan, is essentially just a very short LED strip just around a hub. And I'm like, well, can't they just put these standard ARGB headers as in and out? So you just daisy chain them together and the computer just treats it as a long LED strip. That's what annoys me there, is I don't think they have to be proprietary. That's what bothers me about that.
I guess then it becomes a case of having another cable by where the fans are that you have to connect up. Because certainly most of the solutions obviously use like pogo pins.
Yeah, but then again, that's the thing, is just having one RGB cable going to a chain of fans is significantly better than having 6 RGB cables coming off of your radiator.
Oh, absolutely. But it's a case of obviously by where the fans are, you'll still have those cables linking each fan.
Yeah, I suppose.
And each fan would now have to have 3 cables.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
So it's kind of a case of it would solve one problem, but potentially creates another one.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to fit a fan into a slightly small enclosure. Possibly it just causes a problem where you can't get the connectors on the right side or what have you. So, yes, it's very much an edge case. It's just kind of, makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. Leo McPie says, can RGB cause heat problems? Broadly speaking, no. Your RGB should never make enough heat to cause any problems. However, there are some edge cases for that. Case in point, that one HyperX SSD. Can you remember what model it was, Caradog? There's an infamous Jay's 2 cents video about a Kingston. It was a HyperX, wasn't it? It was a Kingston HyperX SSD that had RGB out the wazoo, because of course you need RGB on your SSD. And the LEDs on it were being driven at full tilt. And on their default settings, the LEDs were producing so much heat that it was actually overheating the... Oh, okay. I just turned off, I guess. The LEDs were producing so much heat that the SSD was overheating and throttling down into the Stone Age. HyperX Fury. Yep, HyperX Fury RGB.
Yeah.
Yep. That's...
And it basically killed the computer.
Yeah. So that's the only instance I've seen. However, that was just awful design. They were running the LEDs way too hard. Because the thing about LEDs are... a lot of people, when designing a product, they'll look at the LED, and the LED datasheet will say up to 20 milliamps. So they'll be like, cool, we'll put 20 milliamps into it then. So it produces a lot of heat at that. Whereas if you run it at 15 milliamps, it'll be 95% as bright, but use a fraction of the power. The power consumption drops off massively, and the temperature production drops off massively. Like, I might be able to give an example here.
It's like because Big Clive's done a couple of videos on modifying LED bulbs and actually measured the lumen output compared to the watt power draw. And just on that, and it's very much a case of you could halve the power usage and only take like a made up number, but it was saying like 25 or 30% drop in brightness, or less than or just under half the power usage. It's a non-linear relationship.
Yeah, And I've noticed this with the studio lights that I use, and I don't think this is going to come out very well on camera because the camera's auto brightness and stuff is going to compensate for it. But with these, I never run my lights at full blast, because if I leave them on at full blast all day, if I turn that up to 100%, the actual housing of the light will be hot to the touch. It won't burn my hand, but you'll feel it. You'll be like, oh, that is hot. Whereas if I run it at 90, like if I turn this down to 80%, that's now at 80%. Now, I literally cannot see the difference with it, and the camera definitely cannot see the difference. 80, 100, 80, 100. And running it at 80, if I put my hand on it, it's lukewarm at best. So that immediately tells me that I'm putting so much less stress on the LEDs that they're producing a fraction of the thermal, and that means that A, they're going to last longer, and B, if that was sitting on an SSD, it's not putting all of that heat into the SSD. So that's the issue. Kingston done goofed there, because they, the spec sheet said, say 30 milliamps, so they pumped 30 milliamps into it. Whereas if they had run it, they could have run it at a fraction of that and gotten the same amount of light to all intent and purpose, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, it's also a case of human perception.
Yeah,
it's like the brightness change on laptop screens. The power usage between 0% and I can't remember who it was. I think it was 0% and 80% is the same as the power usage between 20 and 100.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was, or it might have been like 0 and 75 or something like that. It was very much a lopsided scale, but it's just like the amount of extra power needed for the final 10% or 20%.
Yeah.
And also the fact of the amount of light was non-linear. So the actual light output increased more for each percent at like 80 to 100 than it did lower down.
Yeah.
But to get the same perceived increase in brightness, because so much more light was needed.
Yeah. And this is something that we see in a lot of places as well, is that you always have to put in... What's up, JJ Jones, by the way? We do see you there. You don't need to keep popping off in chat. We see this in a lot of things where, like for anything, car engines, for power supplies, for things like that, like the last 5%, the last 1% is what expends the most power. And just underrunning ever so slightly just saves a lot of, like, I said this, I've said it in a couple of videos. Like, I think I said it in the video where I did about bench power supplies. I've always said I always underrun things ever so slightly just to put less stress on components. And people, I've often had comments from people saying sort of, oh, it shouldn't matter, it should be able to run it and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, it does. But, it's the same as like when you're charging your phone, fast charging your phone. You can fast charge your phone at 30 watts. However, if you charge it at 15 watts all the time, your battery is going to last longer. Yes, it can absolutely charge at 30 watts, but you will get more life out of it if you underrun it slightly. And just as long as you don't mind having that absolute, as long as you don't mind losing out on that 1% extra, then it's fine,
Yeah.
So
it's the kind of the point of diminishing returns and the efficient, and also the point of kind of the efficiency, the 1% gain to 1% cost kind of.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with a customer today. We were talking about monitors and stuff, because he was telling me he had an Asus Tough Gaming 1440p monitor, 165 hertz, and I was like, I've got the same one. And so we were talking about that monitor, and he said, oh, I actually underrun mine at 144 hertz instead, because I don't see the difference past that point. And I said, it's funny you should say that. I also underrun mine at 144 hertz. And the main reason why I do that is because, I got a 3070 now, so I can run stuff at 165. However, if I run all my games at 165, all the fans on my computer ramp up, because I'm maxing out to run at 1440p, 165 hertz. Whereas if I drop it down to 144 hertz, now everything's running at like 90% load. And the drop-off in fan noise is substantial because the computer is just not having to push that last 10%. So yeah, there's a lot of mileage in just underrunning everything slightly, I think, unless you're like, again, if you're in a competitive scene or you're number chasing, then sure, you want every last bit of it. But
you're aiming very much for a peak that is only run for a short while.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's a lot of the point on that is the case of, obviously it's a much shorter time period. It might be for a couple of hours at most.
That's right.
But not necessarily. A couple of hours in one go. It'd be
a stint.
Space over several stints. Exactly. Yeah.
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 V-Sync 75 hertz for summer days. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm just going to enable V-Sync to avoid summer overheating.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess to a degree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. I mean, yeah, if you want to drop the hertz, yeah, the easiest place to do it is in the NVIDIA control panel. You can limit, you just set your monitors to a lower refresh rate there. Or the AMD, what's the AMD one called again?
Well, I would just do it through Windows, just the actual display settings in Windows, and just
you
set
can do
the
it
monitor.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm opening display settings on this computer because these are 60 hertz panels, but
you just go display settings and then set the refresh rate. It's like on this one, you can set it to basically anything between 23 and 120. Yeah. So you can then set the actual
that's
monitor.
Right. Yeah, you can just drill into the settings there. Yeah.
But yeah, you set the actual monitor to say 120 or 144.
Yeah.
Then you enable VSync.
Yes, because modern VSync will match your refresh rate.
Yeah. Or in the very few games that have issues with that and have a frame rate cap option, you just cap the frame rate.
Yeah.
But obviously it's a case of if you set the signal drive mode, so Windows setting it to say 144, it's also a case of is that assuming that the 165 mode is like an overclocking mode, effectively, overclock mode on the panel, it means that you're not running that overclock mode, even if you're only driving 144 frames.
Yeah.
And it's also a case that can possibly give slightly better, like, After Effects.
Yeah, I'm not sure is the answer to that because the 165 is an overclock mode. However, also like the panels are tuned to run at that speed. Like for the color profiles and the overdrive settings generally favor being set to high because that's where they've tuned them to be. So I haven't done this myself because I'm not an expert with monitors, but a lot of where I've watched a couple of reviews of various monitors from people who are obviously know what they're talking about. They said, oh, we've been looking at the overdrive settings and at this percent and at this percent and so on. And they've said, generally we found that the best results are actually at the high overdrive settings because that's obviously where they've tuned the monitor to be comfortable. So, however, I can't see the difference. I'm a layman with monitors, but I can't see the difference.
Absolutely. It depends on the panel because it's obviously a case that some of them, going to the 165 or whatever mode completely murders the color gamut and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's obviously very much depends on what hardware you've got.
Yeah. I mean, my one have got VA panels anyway, so what is color? I mean, I should have paid more. I should have got the IPS ones. I'm sad about it, but yeah, I don't hate my monitors, but the next time I will pay more for the IPS ones. I was
going to say it was particularly bad for you.
Yeah, because I was buying. Yeah, because I was coming. I had Dell Ultra Sharp IPSs, so I was already used to really good panels. And my girlfriend actually has my old monitors now next to me. And every time I look over and see her ones from the side with the perfect viewing angles, I'm like, God damn, those monitors are good. They're not 144, they're not high refresh rate, but good Lord, they've got a good picture on them. You know,
absolutely.
It's a tough balance. It's a tough balance. as I say, I don't want to say I've got buyer's remorse, but next time I will absolutely pay another £200 to get IPS on a pair. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like with this, the fact that you can view it, the limit of the viewing angle is whether the screen gets in front of itself. Basically, because obviously if you're viewing it at 179.9 degrees, the edge of the screen is effectively in front of the content that you're trying to look at.
Yeah.
But there's no like color shift or anything. And it's just like, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, viewing angles are mad.
Yeah.
And OLED makes it even more mad.
That's true. Right, just to cover a couple
Especially
of things
with
in
everything being just like perfect black.
Yes, OLED and micro LED and stuff like that is going to change everything. It's going to make it all obsolete, but yeah.
Going to be.
Yeah. Right, Christopher David, thank you very much for the $20, man. Cheers, gents. The refresh of the NZXT H series H, because everyone hates the way I pronounce it, includes an updated V2 smart controller which optimizes RGB with variable voltage. Interesting. Might have to see what's going on with that because I run NZXT RGB and I can't remember which one I've got at the moment. NZXT RGB is their standards are a horrifying mess because they've got different standards inside of their own ecosystem, which when Caradog and I were last working on my computer to sort out my RGB, we were like, what the why? So
What
yeah. There we go. Caradog's got a beat button now. However, also, genuinely, I don't care about NZXT anymore until they join the Airflow meta. Where's the Airflow H series NZXT? There's no excuses. The Airflow meta is upon us. It's been here for a while. Where's my Airflow H series? Make a H500i Airflow, and I will buy it tomorrow. Hand on my heart. Make a H500i Airflow, and I will buy it tomorrow. There, I said it.
I think the problem is that NZXT
for a reasonable price
don't actually make good products.
They
just stumbled across products that people liked.
Yeah, they could if they wanted to. However, yeah, they've got a couple of things that people like. We were having this conversation the other day. They've got a couple of things that people like, which is making them out to be a premium brand. But over the past couple of years, their innovation has stagnated. The H series has not changed in. I mean, when did I bought mine when the H500i was relatively new, and I bought mine when did 8th gen Intel come out? 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Well, arguably it'd be 3 years ago because we had 11th this year.
Yeah. So. Okay, so let's say 3 years ago. And the H series had already been out for probably about a year from there. So their cases have not seen a major overhaul in the best part of 3 or 4 years. I mean, like a proper overhaul. Putting tempered glass on the front wasn't an overhaul. You know, and don't get me wrong, I like them, but they haven't seen a proper overhaul in 3 or 4 years. They haven't joined the Airflow meta, which is just objectively superior, as per my conversation about this guy destroying my H500 for cooling. And just, and again, for people with an S350 as well, the S350 is a really nice case. Airflow version of that, it would sell like hotcakes. So yeah, I like NZXT, but they've got to get their act together. Also, the whole fiasco with what's their SFF one with the stupid riser that catches fire, the H100 or something.
I don't know.
Yeah, their ITX case that has just been a publicity nightmare because of their burning PCI Express risers and the way
they handled it so poorly.
H1, that's it. Yeah, the H1, and yeah, the way they've handled that. I don't know if you guys have seen Gamers Nexus's recent video where it turns out that they sent nice risers to the reviewers and then kept putting out crap ones to the actual customers. It's just like, come on, guys. Also with that video, it's just like, did you think they wouldn't find out? And by they I mean Gamers Nexus. Like when you sent golden samples to the reviewers and crap ones to the customers, did you think no one would notice? You know, it's just, no, it's no bueno, man. I'm really annoyed because, as I say, I want to like NZXT, but they do so much to make me not like them.
They do so much
to like them.
Damage their own brand.
Yeah, they're their own worst enemy. They could be making really good products. At one point, they were going toe to toe with Corsair, whereas now, you know, they're going down a similar path to Thermaltake, where they're turning into everyone's favorite punching bag. But yeah. Arrgh. You got to go mow the grass. All right, Chris. Catch you later, man. Appreciated. So yeah,
it's like but at least Corsair, when they kind of stopped releasing new cases, at least the cases they had were still good.
Yeah, that's
if
right.
That makes sense.
And
they
now
were old and dated. They were good.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. They were at least well made. The panels fit nicely.
Yeah, and they were updating them with good updates as well. You know, it was like, you know, when the Airflow meta came in, Corsair refreshed all their cases with Airflow variants. And yeah, it was the same old cases. They weren't new cases. However, they were just like, yeah, Airflow is the new meta and it's really good. So we're building new front panels into all of our cases and releasing them as an Airflow edition. Even heckin' Fantex made the Airflow of the P400, and the P400 is ancient. But now the P400 is one of the most competitive cases because of the Airflow edition.
Yeah.
You know.
And like the P400A and the 7 different versions of it.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just like, you know, I'm going to go and grab it super quick because was it last week when, I think it was last week when Night Fusion dropped the super chats to buy a P200.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, here it is. I put Night Fusion's money where my mouth is, and I've got a P200. So yeah, review coming soon. We've got a P200, and I bought a cheap ITX motherboard for it. So got a B450 one, and so we're going to put that in there. And yeah, we're going to build this thing up, and it'll be a cheap little ITX box. And that's the thing, it's just that I'm already seeing some bits that I like and dislike about that case, but that Airflow front panel means that whatever you do, that Airflow front panel is going to be great, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. P200 is only ITX. Yes, it is only ITX. So far, my major beef with the P200 is I took it out the box and was like, that's a bit bigger than I thought it would be. And the first thing I did was I put it next to my Corsair 220T. And it's the same length and the same width as the Corsair. It's just a couple of inches shorter kind of thing. And I'm like, the 220T is maybe 3 inches taller, and it's full ATX.
Yeah.
So that is kind of going to be the damning conclusion of the P200 review, is if you can suffer your computer to be 3 inches taller, you can have an ATX case.
Yeah, basically.
However, also the Corsair 220T, it's underrated. People don't like it. And I'm like, it's a really good case, man. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I feel like there's this weird chase for making cases as small as possible, but not making them usefully smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
It's just like,
and when you
we need
do
to reduce the volume.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you see the ones that are usefully smaller, they're often really expensive boutique cases that are made in small quantity. And like the chassis is like £300. And it's really nice, but you're like, £300 is a tough pill to swallow for a case that has got about 1 kilogram's worth of metal in it, you know. You know, when you actually see them, you know, you're just like, that's like 4 aluminium plates that have been machined. That's the whole case. And it's £300 because you have to make it in small volumes. So it's just like,
yeah, absolutely. Especially as obviously the case that the price difference between the two is your motherboard kind of
yeah. Well, the motherboards aren't too bad because I was worried about building ITX because of the ITX tax. Because a lot of motherboards, for an ITX motherboard, it's either crap or it's ludicrously expensive. However, I bought this. I'm just going to try and open this up without crackling into the mic.
I'm just
I'll mute a sec. Hang on a sec.
I was gonna say that's a substantially better option. There we go.
That one, there we go. Yeah, so this is a Gigabyte B450 Aorus Pro Wi-Fi. There we go, there it is. That's a nice looking motherboard. It was £100. So like probably about $100 because US, UK tax. And you know, this isn't an all singing, all dancing motherboard, but it's fine for a little box. You know, I'm gonna put a 3600 in that. You could probably put a 5600 in this. In fact, yeah, I could put a 5600 in this. You know, it doesn't have enormous VRMs, but at stock speeds, it'll be fine. And it's 100 quid. So you can build a cute little ITX computer with that. So that's the thing. I do think that the ITX tax is not as bad as people make out to be because of a broader adoption of it. There are now mid-range options. So you now have a choice between the £200 or £300 Super ITX boards and just the A-series chipset boards where you're just like, yeah, it's ITX, but I can't build a gaming PC with that, you know?
I guess to me, it's just kind of the case though that it's like, kind of, you know, it's not terrible, but at the same time, I could just go ATX.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. That's the thing is...
not have any of the issues going forward kind of thing.
Yeah.
And certainly seeing the number of supposedly ITX boards that aren't actually ITX and things like that, that makes it difficult because they're slightly bigger. Or like they've got 4-inch thick slabs of risers on there to try and fit the audio in an M2 and things like that. It's just kind of
I don't like the super ones. Yeah.
At like that point, I'm just like, just make an ATX motherboard.
I get it. Some people are trying to build an ITX computer with zero compromise kind of thing. And I'm like, you can, but you know, I feel like you're fighting an uphill struggle. And
it's one of those cases where I'd be like, surely the motherboard manufacturer would have been better off just pulling off the audio circuit, saying there is no onboard audio, and going, here is a 50p USB audio solution.
Yeah. Well, plus also, like, most people are going to plug a USB headset into it anyway, which will immediately lose any benefit of the onboard audio because you're going to go into the DAC of the USB headset.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and then just give me 4 more USB ports instead of the audio tower.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And failing that, again, it's just a lot of people. I'm just like, or you could build it in a 220T, which is, you know, and people are just like, oh, well, I want a small computer because I go to lots of LAN parties. And I'm just like, the 220T is really small, man. So yeah, someone also mentioned the Cooler Master Q500L. And yeah, this thing is about the size of that Cooler Master. And the Cooler Master can take an ATX case, an ATX motherboard in it. So
you can do silly things with a Q500L.
Yeah. However, the difference is this Fantex, despite being the same size, it will actually have good airflow rather than it works kind of thing. And also it actually has a tempered glass side panel instead of a Perspex one that will scratch to hell. So yeah, I'd say it's pros and cons. It depends on what you want and what you need, you know.
Absolutely. But just the fact of kind of you can fit a lot in a Q500L given its size.
Yeah. But it will be fun to work in this thing again. Yeah, every now and then I get the itch to try small form factor. And I try it for a bit and then I'm like, that was fun. Next time I'm building ATX. But
I think the only thing with the Q500L is you basically can't have hard drives in it. If you're stuffing everything under the sun in there, you can't have hard drives in it.
Yeah, that's true. But then on the other hand, I still think I guess it depends. I'm really tempted to say if you need hard drives in your computer these days, you're doing it wrong. Just M2 everything. But then that's not really fair to say because not everyone can afford to drop a couple of £100 on a 2 terabyte M2.
Yeah, we're certainly getting very close to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, because it's just kind of okay. Yeah, it's just you lose a lot of the kind of flexibility when you're trying to wiggle all of that extra stuff in as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Spud Nugget earlier on mentioned the Fractal Define 7 Compact. Is this the solid version of the new Meshify C? Because there's a new version of the Meshify C, and is this basically the solid panel version of that?
Is it the Meshify 2C?
Yeah.
Meshify C2? I can't remember.
Hang on a sec, let me switch to display cap. That's not helping you guys at all. Let me turn off my face because then you guys can see. Yeah, this looks like the Meshify 2C with a solid front panel. And my answer to that is why wouldn't you get the Meshify? So I can do one better actually. Let's open a new window. Meshify 2C. Yeah, Meshify C. I think that's the old version of it. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, that's the old one.
Meshify S2. I can't see it on Amazon.
Yeah, I think I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like
Meshify
2S, S2, C2, 2S.
Meshify 2
C2.
Compact seems to be the word. Yeah, Meshify 2 Compact. Okay, loading. Yeah, it's got the new logo on it. All right, show me the inside. Ah, look, that's got a very distinctive rear panel. Hang on a sec, let's go back to that one. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, so the Define 7 Compact is basically the Meshify 2 Compact with a solid front panel. And my answer to that is no, I'm going to buy a Meshify 2 instead because never not airflow.
Yeah.
I am fully invested in the airflow meta, in short, because it really is, the airflow meta really is good. And it's just like, if there's an airflow version of the case available, never not. Because also the Meshify 2 looks really good. Like, I'm just going to switch back to that again. The Meshify 2, I love that front panel. That looks really nice. And I keep wanting to buy a Meshify. I keep wanting to buy one. The only reason why I don't is because no tempered glass side panel. Every time I'm building a computer that warrants a nice airflow case, it's for someone who wants a tempered glass side panel and some RGB in there. So that's the only catch there. I do want to look at one, but it's just not something that I want to use anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that crinkled look. I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, those I've just forgotten what the top one's called. The first one was called just the Meshify. Just the Meshify C.
Yeah, the Meshify C. Yeah, that's the old version.
I found that weirdly large, but weirdly lacking in space. It was really inefficient.
Are you talking about the one that Tom got? Yeah, that was the big boy version. That wasn't because there's a Meshify. That was the Meshify S2, I think he had. And yes, I agree. That one was
It was a very big case with zero usable space.
Yeah, I agree. The Meshify S2 was very difficult to use. It was really, really long, like a big boy long case. And
kind of wide and quite tall.
Yeah.
It's just like,
like if you were running custom water cooling in it, I'm just going to bring up a picture just so people can see it. Yeah, here we go. So that was this one. This is a really deep case, man. Like, look how deep that is. You could fit a suitcase in there, and basically the case only actually needs to be that long. You could just chop like 20 centimeters off the front of it. Now, if you were doing like custom water cooling in there, you'd have lots of space. I think you're also supposed to be able to buy lots of optional hard drive mounts, because like around the back, you can put in hard drives here. But like this was also a really inefficient place to put the hard drives. Like they show they show the SATA chains jumping between hard drives there. Like, I seem to remember them not reaching in Tom's PC when I was looking at them.
I can't remember.
And and I'm like, what the hell power supply are they using where the chains have got that much distance between the connectors? And as I say, I have to admit, the build quality was fantastic. Because it's airflow, the cooling will be fantastic. It looks fantastic, but it just was really inefficient in its use of space, which left me feeling a bit disappointed in it. So yeah, it was just, I wanted to, and this is the problem with just Fractal cases. They're really good, but there's just always just one thing where I'm just like, yeah, but I'm going to buy the Corsair instead because it's cheaper and it's either A, cheaper, B, is more space efficient, or C, comes with RGB when I want RGB. That's the annoying thing. I really like Fractal, but I think Corsair have a better product. That's the thing.
In an awful lot of cases, absolutely.
Fractal have got something that's really good, but Corsair just seem to be hitting the mark a bit better. So
a lot of the time, it's it's kind of a case of looking at their stuff. It's just like, it's good, but
there's always one reason why that, because like at the end of the day, I bring that up and I'm like, that looks really good. I think I'm going to buy that. However, for due diligence, I better check what other people are offering. Let's see what Corsair have got. Let's see what Fantex have got. Let's see what someone else have got. And almost every other time, like I'm not a Corsair fanboy, but I keep buying Corsair cases because whenever I look at the Corsair, I'm just like, oh, hey, that's got all the features that the Fractal has got and it costs less. And like the new Corsair,
that's the other problem.
The Corsair 2021 cases, so like the 4000D, the 5000D, they've got new designs. They look really, really good.
Have you had one in your hands?
A 4000D, yeah, not a 5000D.
Yeah.
I nearly bought a 5000D for the review PC behind me. However, I had one in the basket. However, the 5000D is too expensive. It's like 150, 160 quid or something like that.
Which is about the right price for the size of case it is, though.
But that's the thing, though, is that the 4000D is £80 and it's slightly smaller. And I'm like, I'm not spending another 60 or 70 pounds for it to be slightly bigger.
From my understanding, the 5000D is the same size as like the Obsidian 750D I've got.
Yeah. And if you need that space, then I guess that's what you're buying. But also, it doesn't come with RGB or anything like that. And I'm like, when you're up, yeah, but like, I'll rephrase that. It doesn't come with RGB, which means it's going to have a token gesture, 2 cheap-ass case fans in it that you're going to have to replace. So you're spending like £150 for essentially a shell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a case of...
Or you could spend £80 on the 4000D.
Oh, yeah. It's very much a very niche product, ultimately, I feel.
Yeah, sure.
In the same way as like the 750D is. The 750D is ultimately designed for something where you've got 6 or 7 3.5-inch drives.
Yeah.
Plus a full custom lube.
Yeah. Yeah.
With, 2 radiators, one front, one top. So it's kind of,
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's true.
It's a very niche market that it's aiming at, I feel, with that one. But it's just nice to see that it's being serviced.
Yes.
With actual quality cases again.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah. At any rate, this kind of doesn't solve... Well, yeah, that's the thing. And like, in a way, Fractal have got their niche as well, just because a lot of their cases don't have the side panel. And there are certain times where you don't want a case with a side panel. I think the last Fractal... Did I put... I think I did use a Fractal for the 3950X build I did back in February, because again I needed something that was pro for a workstation, and if you're building workstations, Fractal are really good, because that's the thing. I'm singing the praises of Corsair cases here, but if you're building someone a work like if you're Spud Nugget and you're building a Threadripper workstation to deliver to someone who's doing CAD, you don't want to deliver them a product that's got side panels and RGB in it, You know, you want to deliver them a professional product. You know,
I would like a 4000D. Is it the 4000D?
yeah, 4000D. Yeah.
Is the airflow one, and the 4000X
Yes.
is the non-airflow one,
Oh,
effectively.
I think you're right. Yeah, sorry. There's a 4000D airflow and a 4000D non-airflow. There is a non-airflow version of it. However, I have a suspicion that they kind of released that because they could, because Corsair have got too many products in their product stack. But
yes,
you
it'd be
buy
nice
the
if there
airflow.
was.
Yeah, just never not
It'd be
airflow.
nice if there was a solid side panel,
Yeah, as an option.
just as an
Although
option.
they've smoked the glass on it so much that it might as well be. That's my other beef with the 4000. That's why I didn't buy the 4000D in black, because the side panel is so smoked that you just can't see through it unless you've got massive RGB, which makes me sad. So yeah. Yeah. Right. Catching up on some of the chat. Hunter Hurick, your Arctic has died. It sounds like you need a new one, dude. Yeah, contact support.
Also,
Sounds
just
like
the fact of double check that it's actually plugged into power.
Yeah, make sure it's plugged in properly. Otherwise, it sounds like it's killing. You need a new one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Unplug all the fan connectors, all of the headers and stuff.
Yeah.
Plug them into a different header, a pump header. Set
Yeah.
it to 100%. If it's still dead, contact support. Get a new one.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like you've diagnosed your own fault here. This happened to me earlier on today. I had someone who called me up asking for help with something, and I can't remember what it was for. Oh yeah, I had someone call me up saying they had built one of the JYE Tech pocket scopes, which for those of you who don't know what they are, is the pocket oscilloscope that I have. This little boy, they were building up one of these, and they said, "Oh, I put it together and it's not working. It's just got a white screen." I'm just like, "Oh, well, check the manual because they've got troubleshooting steps in there. They show you which voltage rails to check and stuff like that." And said, "Oh, I've been on the forum, and they say if you've got a white screen, check if the LED inside it is blinking. If the LED isn't blinking, then the CPU is dead." And he said, "My LED isn't blinking." And I'm like, "It sounds like you've got a dead CPU then." This is like, you've called me up, but you've already solved your own problem. So yes, yeah, if it doesn't work, it sounds like you need a new one, basically. What else was going on? Fraxel is also totally customizable. Yes, this is true. Can you buy the optional extras for it as well, though? Like, can you get those? Because this was something that I did normally whenever people say, "Oh, you can buy optional drive bays and stuff like that." I'm like, yes, but from where? Now, I actually got caught out by this because all the optional stuff for the LAN Cool 2, you can get that from overclockers, and it's actually very reasonably priced. So I'm going to buy some of those optional extras. But a lot of cases say they've got all these optional extras, and you can customize it to be how you like, but no one sells the optional extras. Is kind of the issue there. I'll stand corrected if it's available. Fractal HDD tray. I'm just going to Amazon that. And yeah, there's stuff available. I've just bashed a Fractal HDD tray into Amazon, and there are some available. So yeah, there's a little bit available there.
Yeah, it's just slightly annoying.
Yeah, I dislike having to customize stuff
Sometimes.
though. I feel like this might be an unfair thing to say, but I tend to judge things by their default configuration. Because, again, the LAN Cool 2 didn't come with a Type-C port on it. It just had a hole with a rubber plug in it. And I was angry about that. However, people in the comments were just like, "Oh, you can buy it separately. It's an optional extra. It's available from OC UK for like £10. I'm like, okay, that's actually quite reasonable. However, the 4000D comes with a Type-C connector out the box.
Yeah.
So which am I going to buy? You know. Now, don't get me wrong. I really like the LAN Cool 2. But again, this is my point. I tend to judge things by how they come out the box.
Yeah, and absolutely. And the fact, and kind of having to buy the accessories is
if you couldn't
a
afford,
shame.
Yeah, if you couldn't afford to put a Type-C connector on it, then add £10 onto the price.
Especially if you can ship it and sell it as a standalone product and warehouse it for £10. You could have added it to the case for £1.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just like
So yeah, that's the thing. And like again, I'm being a dick about this. I'm being like sort of, oh, I'll only judge things how they come out the box, despite the fact that these are custom PCs. You're supposed to build them and customize them how you like anyway.
At the same
so
time,
I'm generalizing, but yeah, you know,
having to buy DLC for my case isn't my idea of customizing my PC.
oof, yeah. That when you put it that way, it sounds really bad.
Landley suddenly turning into EA and shipping me a case, but actually I have to spend twice the amount to buy the complete case.
Yeah.
As opposed to the case that they're selling me the accessories for.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, okay, but given you sell this thing for like £10, warehouse it and ship it separately for that much, just put it in the case.
Yeah.
When you're selling it, when you're doing it for £10 and £10 gives you cover, gives you profit on it, doing it for £1 inside the price of the case will still give you will still cover the price for the additional cost.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find UK because I'm on the Fractal website at the moment and they don't have a store. So their top listed UK supplier is just Scan. So I'll see what Scan I've got. Fractal. See all products from this manufacturer. Brand. My brand.
I like it. I like it when it's a case of they're selling duplicates of the parts that come with it. So like you can get a replacement hard drive sled, you can get a replacement side panel, you can get a replacement front panel, Things get damaged, things break, stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It's like I like it when that's kind of where it is, but the stuff comes with the case.
Yeah. Scan have got all the optional extras, including tempered glass side panels. That's very impressive. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay. So you can get a tempered glass side panel, and the side panels they've got one for an R6 and a Define S, and it's £22 for the R6 and £25 for the Define S. That's very reasonable, I think. Yeah, I stand
for the
side panels. Yeah, I stand corrected. I think that's they've got all the extra. You can buy coloured front panels. I think those colours are hideous, quite frankly. However, they have colours.
Like the blue.
Yeah, the blue one's okay. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with these colours. Like we've got brown.
I can have brown and baby poop green.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with those greens and browns. If you've got the green or the brown ones and you like it, power to you. Not my cup of tea. And yeah, they've got.
I'm sure you also like your 1970 Volvo.
Yeah, they've got. Well, you like Noctua fans, so.
I never said they were a good colour. I just like fans to blow air.
At any rate, they've got all the accessories here. So yeah, fair play. If you go to scan.co.uk, you can get all your accessories. £10 for a 2-pack of drive sleds, so £5 each. That's actually very reasonable. I think that's very reasonable. So yeah, I stand corrected. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Yeah, I think it's changed. I think it's changed. Sorry, the real list just said the 70s is in, bite me. I appreciate your fervor, son. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think times have changed. It used to be that when people said we had optional extras for our Cooler Master cases and for other cases, it's just they said they had optional extras. They're listed on the manufacturer's website, but you couldn't buy them anywhere. Whereas I feel like now we've got distributors like scan.co.uk, like Micro Center, like specialist suppliers of boutique computer parts. There's actually a distribution network for these optional extras. The times have changed and you can get this stuff now. So it looks, I think I'm stuck in the past there, and I think I'm saying to people, don't tell me it's an optional extra. If it's an optional extra, it doesn't exist. Whereas actually it kind of does now.
But it's also just the case that if you can sell me that optional extra for a £5,
then you can put it in the box.
You could have put it in the case.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, especially when it's like USB ports.
Yeah. 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 If it's spares for replacement parts, then fair. However,
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than that, when it's the DLC USB port, like you said, yeah, the Type C port for the LAN cool mesh should not be DLC. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Like that, just make the case £5 more expensive and ship it with the Type C port, because it's 2021 and we should have Type C on our cases now. So yeah.
And the only thing is we need motherboards to have more Type C as well.
Yeah, that's right.
It's it's still a case that I also just think it's weird how few USB ports we have on motherboards sometimes. Like certainly the like top end ones. They're trying to be like master of everything, but it's like you're giving me 6 USB ports.
Yeah,
That's
a
not very
high-end
good.
motherboard should have 8 USB ports at the back. I will accept 7.5, and when I say 7.5, I mean 7 Type A's and a Type C. Because a Type C around the back isn't particularly useful, in my opinion. So I count that as half. So I often say 7.5 for 7 Type A's and a Type C. However, yeah, there are some motherboards that are still 6 ports at the back. I've seen X570 boards that are 5.5. So
yeah, exactly.
And I'm just like, X570 with 5.5 ports at the back? What are you kidding me? You know.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was a cheap board.
It's also just kind of a case. I'm just like, how about giving me like 10 or 12 USB ports and getting rid of the useless 12 connectors for audio?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need all of these extra audio connectors.
Yeah.
I need USB ports. Everything uses USB.
Yeah. I think also we could probably stand. Well, that's swings and roundabouts. I was going to say we could probably stand to drop one of the internal USB 2 headers and stick another pair of USB 2 ports at the back. There's your extra pair of USB ports straight away to get you either up to 8 or up to 10 ports at the back. Or get rid of some of the onboard video ports. Just stick a HDMI back there. We don't need DVI. We don't need DisplayPort. Just put a HDMI on it, you know. Just to cut in, JJ Jones would prefer not. I'm not a fan of visitors in the shop because I'm always super busy, I'm afraid. But I appreciate the gesture. I think the other thing as well is USB ports on motherboards has been really squicky with the B550 meta, because obviously B550 doesn't have a lot of PCI Express on it. And that has meant that USB back panels have been really bad on the B550 series. Now, because it's B550, it was supposed to be mid-range, so this normally wouldn't be a problem. But because B550 is the newest chipset, they're building top-end B550 boards instead of building X570 boards. Well, it's a twofold problem. Is that B550 is the newest chipset, so they're building top-end B550 boards that have got garbage rear I/O, and X570 as an actual chipset is also just too expensive because of the chipset itself costs a lot to just buy it from AMD, and also the standards for an X570 board with the construction of the PCB, so trace integrity, VRMs, memory topology, and stuff like that, means that it's very difficult to build a cheap X570 board. Because like even up to X470, you used to be able to get X470 boards for like £100, and they were fine. Whereas I've never seen X570 for less than £140. And the £140 X570 board is terrible, absolutely terrible. So yeah, B550 is just B550 is the current meta, and it's not bad, but yeah, as I say, the USB offerings on the back are really sketch.
Yeah, it's like the absolute cheapest B550 motherboard is £72 basically, and then The cheapest X570 board is £135.
135. Yeah, that's not bad. Which one is that? Just out of interest, which model?
ASRock X570 Phantom Gaming 4S ATX AM4 motherboard.
Phantom Gaming 4.
S.
Phantom Gaming 4S. 4S. There we go. So I'm just going to pull that up.
Yeah.
So this is basically the cheapest X570 board that money could. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. Let's take a look at this.
That's something. That's really something.
Get a load of this. Okay, it's got 8 USB ports, and they're all USB 3. However, that's apart from having 8 Type A ports on the back, that is barren, man. That is like the field in which I give my fucks. You know, there are none.
I mean
this.
That's
Okay.
kind of what that's kind of all you need, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm just like,
It shows you how much gumph is on the back of most motherboards. Given that that's actually more useful than a lot of them. Or, sorry, not more useful, but is just as useful. Because it's still got 8 USB ports. It's still got your LAN on there, obviously, and it's still got a video out.
Yeah.
So it's just like, actually, it shows that a lot of the other stuff is
6 plus
gumph.
2 VRM will do the job. You got 2. One of your M2s is worthless. Oh, there's another one down there. So we've got 2 M.2s. Audio is forgettable, but you're not really going to care at this point.
Also, it's going to be more than good enough because
Yeah.
I've never really found a problem with it.
It's got RGB headers, so you can run an RGB setup off of it. Does it have Type-C?
It's also got like 6 slots of spacing between your 2 GPUs. Like possibly the only one that you'd actually have enough spacing to run SLI on.
These are
And
terrible
not care
photos.
about,
I can't see
not
a
care
damn
about
thing.
airflow for your top card.
Yeah, it's this annoys me. Is it's got it's got 2 USB 3.0 headers, so you can have 4 front USB 3 ports, but no Type-C one. I'm like, drop one of these 3.0 headers and put a Type-C header on it, so you could have your Type-C front port.
I wonder if it just doesn't have a 3.2 by 2x2 controller.
Well, surely that's built into the X570 chipset, though, right?
I don't know if a 3.2 by 2x2.
Hurrah, hurrah.
Yeah, I can't remember if that is actually built into the chipset or not.
Yeah.
Or if it's like the Intel chipset where the Wi-Fi isn't built into the chipset.
Yeah.
But the compatible Wi-Fi module direct communicates with the chipset without a need for an additional driver sort of thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's a case of the USB controller is built in, or if the USB controller for that is just supported by the chipset without additional fan dangling.
Yeah.
I'd imagine it's the latter, because that obviously reduces cost for AMD.
That kind of makes sense. Yeah.
I presume these
adding in the last
chipsets are being made by like global foundries.
I don't know. I don't know much about who makes the chipsets, actually.
No, I'd imagine just because it's not like you need 7nm chipsets.
No.
So like 12 or 14 is going to be enough.
Yeah.
And AMD does have a minimum wafer purchase agreement with GlowFlow still.
Okay, yes, they might be doing it then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the VRM fan, not VRM cooling. I mean, if we're talking about that motherboard, just an interest thing if we're going to go over it.
It's a chipset fan.
Yeah, I was going to say this fan, that's the chipset fan. The X570 chipset does require a fan or a big ass heatsink, and presumably the fan is cheaper for them. It only requires it when you're doing a lot of heavy I/O. Like if you've actually loaded down all the PCI Express, and you're doing heavy I/O, that's when the X570 chipset will actually start kicking out a reasonable amount of heat. On most gaming PCs, on most days though, the fan will never spin up. And then the VRM heat sinking, the main V-Core VRMs have got a heat sink on them. The iGPU ones, these guys aren't going to kick out a lot of heat, so it's not really going to matter. It's not a good sign when you've got, like, this is probably a really piddly crap little heatsink anyway. But again, it's a case of, it will based on my testing so far, it will probably be fine with the vast majority of CPUs. And if you're putting in a really high-end CPU, like if you were actually going to put like a 5900X in this, if you can afford a 5900X, you can afford to spend £200 on your motherboard instead of £100. So that it's a case of, yeah, don't buy this motherboard for a top-end CPU.
Yeah, because it's just a case that, well, why would you?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Other than that, you know, most of its shortcomings are a case of, yeah, fine. But for the target demo, it's fine. However,
it's kind of, to me, I'm looking at that and just kind of going, actually, the stuff it's missing is just, it shows that a lot of the features are kind of
superfluous,
crappy stuff.
Yeah. However, the other thing as well is that if you were building your own, if you were building on a really tight budget and you're trying to save every penny, then yeah, you might want to run. You might want to run a cheap motherboard like this because it gets you that X570 chipset. Because the other thing to consider as well, some people would be like, sort of, oh, buy secondhand X470 or B450. It's like, yes, and then your Ryzen 5000 CPU won't work without a BIOS update. And if you've bought an X470 motherboard, you're probably buying a cheap one, which means it probably doesn't have BIOS flashback, which means you're going to need to get it BIOS updated, and you might not be able to do that. And just, there's lots of people I know in the past 12 months or so who built X570. Like before Ryzen 5000 came out, a lot of people in early 2020, they built with an X570 motherboard purely to have guaranteed Ryzen 3000 compatibility. Whereas with the X470 boards,
it wasn't guaranteed. Well, it wasn't guaranteed out the box because obviously X470 launched with the 2000 series.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was just thinking, was it 2000 for X470? Yes, it was. Yeah. So with your X470 boards, it might work or it might not. And if you're a first-time builder and you're building this on your kitchen table and you don't have CPUs and EEPROM flashes lying around, then having a BIOS that needs to be updated before it'll post is a disaster. That means you're going down to your local computer repair shop and hoping they don't charge you through the nose to flash your BIOS. So a lot of people I know, they bought extra. So, so a cheap X570 board might fit into that demographic if you're just trying to save all the pennies, and it would be fine. But then,
I guess look up the Asus Prime X570-P.
Oh no, I think this is one of those other, Asus Prime X570-P. Yeah, this is another one of those fairly threadbare ones, I think, isn't it?
Right. This motherboard is
oh wow,
£20 more expensive.
Yeah. Pictures? Can I have big pictures? How do big picture? Ah, here we go. There we go. £20 more expensive.
Right. And then look at the rear I/O.
You've lost some of your USB 3 ports. Yeah, you've
gone to USB 2 ports.
USB 2 ports at the top, yeah. And it's just, everything else is about the same. It's just as threadbare.
I think you've gone up to
two things.
Slightly faster USB ports.
Yeah, that's true. You've got your Gen 2.2x2 or whatever ones, I think, somewhere there. Possibly these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. LAN USB 3.2, I think that says down there. Yeah. So yeah, you've got your nice ones. Is there anything else to speak of on this?
It's like, that's still kind of sad.
Yeah. The VRM is probably slightly better. I mean, we've got top heatsink on the VRM. It probably has some cheap power stages on it rather than, I mean, none of these pictures are going to show it, but it probably has, oh, can I see in there? No, I can't tell. It might have some cheap power stages in there instead of discrete MOSFETs, which would make the VRM significantly better, just because power stages are more efficient. But yeah, I don't know, like, you may as well, if instead of spending £20 extra on that board, you may as well spend £30 extra and get up to probably a mid-range. Well, I say a mid-range, and get up to the quote-unquote minimum standard X570 boards, where you actually have a nice selection of I/O on the back and a Type-C connector and all the rest of it. Basically, not one of the cheap, crappy ones, you know. So
yeah, it's just a bit odd.
Yeah.
Alas.
Oh, Lawson Small, you happen to have this with a 3600. The Asus or the ASRock? Do you mean the Asus Prime? Because yeah, that Asus Prime, I don't hate that motherboard. You know, that's the thing.
No, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just the fact of spending 20 quid more gets you actually nothing.
Yeah, Although that much being said, I got to admit, if I was buying, I would probably spend £20 more, because I think for aesthetics, there I said it, because the Asus Prime looks substantially nicer than the ASRock. The ASRock looks like a cheap, nasty board. The Asus Prime X570p there, that's just a stripped down board. And I know that's a really shallow thing to say, but, you know, if we're building gaming PCs, we build them to look nice and we build them to be proud of. And if I was building on a shoestring budget, I'd probably spend a bit extra and get the Prime. Like, if I was selling to a customer and I was shaving off every pound to get in budget, and you know, and I was having to buy one of these super cheap X570 boards, if I put the Prime X570p in there, I would deliver it to the customer and be like, yeah, there we go, budget motherboard, it's fine. Whereas if I put the ASRock in there, I'd sort of be trying not to, I'd be mentioning the motherboard under my breath. I'd be like, it's got an ASRock motherboard. You know, not because I've got a problem with ASRock, I've got an ASRock at home, but just simply because that ASRock looks really nasty. Whereas that Prime X570p kind of looks all right to me, you know. This is the point where I hope that other chap did actually have the Asus and not the ASRock. Whoops, wrong one. The Asus Prime, yes, good. So yeah, the ASRock is supposed to be cheap and nasty. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
In a way, for looking at some of it, it's just like, I'm not sure why you'd want the X570
as a chipset.
Certainly looking at like 150, well, the like 130, 120 range. I don't know why you'd want that when you can just get B550 boards at like 100, 110.
Yeah,
which are nicer boards.
Yeah, Lloyd was just saying go A520 or B550, and I'm inclined to agree. I'm not a fan of dropping down to an A-series chipset, because when you drop down to an A-series motherboard, you start making major concessions in functionality. Like, you often get a really terrible BIOS that's just missing half the sections. It won't have any fan connectors on it. The built-in fan controller will have really terrible customization on it. You know, that when you don't go down to A520, you start losing a lot. However, B550, the mid-range chipset now, is actually, you know, will usually have all the bells and whistles you actually care about on it as well. So yeah, yeah, certainly I think B550 is a solid place to be. I'm not sure, like, that's the thing. I think the reason what brought us onto this conversation is that a generation ago on X470 and stuff, you could get a not awful X470 motherboard for about £100. That wasn't awful. And now it seems like those days are past, which is why we're now having to make different considerations. And yes, the A series and the B series has always been there, but we didn't have to even consider them, because when you can get you could get the flagship chipset for about £100 or about $100. So why wouldn't you? Whereas now we're actually having to consider these other options, which I think is kind of the roundabout point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I kind of want to. I kind of want to get an A520M, A520M-H.
And put your 5950 in it. You'd do that just for
Yeah, I would
science.
do.
Yeah. What are the options for an A550 house? Let me get back to
Because
Amazon.
as far as I'm aware, the BIOS in the A520, the Gigabyte one, is basically just the standard Gigabyte BIOS.
Oh, really?
So it was cheaper for them to just use their normal BIOS than make a new one.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here we go, boys. Here's where it's at. You can get the Wirtu New Fit for Asus motherboard for £221. I don't know what that even is. What the hell? MSI've got a mag. Why are they making a gaming? Yeah, see, I don't like the fact that these are gaming series motherboards with an A520 in them. But sure. Okay, so that's £90. That can just sod off. That can go die in a fire, that motherboard. £90 for an A520. Get out of here. Asus Prime for £66. What do you get for your £66 there? Can we get this in the middle of the screen-ish? You get no VRM heatsinks at all with a 4+2 setup or a 5+1. Not sure which. Can't be bothered to look it up. You get one M.2 slot, so you do get M.2. You get, yeah, the audio is super garbo, but yeah, who cares? And yeah, what's the rear I/O? 6 USB ports. Yeah, you get a VGA
It's
port
actually
on it.
reasonably good.
Yeah, that's
like the A520 boards are actually surprisingly good.
Yeah, and like again, as long as you don't put a big ass CPU in there, I'm sure the VRMs won't catch fire. Like if you're running a mid-range CPU that's only using like 60 or 80 watts or something, it'll be fine. So yeah, although I feel like £67 is still too much. I want to be paying like £50 or £60. So I mean that's an Asus though. Like, is there a Gigabyte or an MSI that's that cheap?
Yeah, look at the A520M space H.
A520M space H.
Yeah, that's the Gigabyte one, which should be
Yeah.
the absolute cheapest.
I can get H.G. Wells, The Invisible Man. A520MH. Oh, come on, Amazon search, man.
Just look at Discord.
Okay, I'll look at Discord. Because, yeah. Okay, there we go. Right. Copy link. Because I can't Amazon search, apparently.
I'll see, what I should have done is made that your own affiliate link.
Yeah.
Sorry, right. I mean associate.
Yeah, associate. Yeah, it's not affiliate. I'm not affiliated with Amazon. I'm associated with them. Their words, not mine. Yeah, so this board is £55 on sale, but it's £55. Okay. That doesn't look too shabby. What have we got on the back of it?
That is on sale. I have literally never seen it above about £57.
Yeah. You get a BIOS reset button on the back of that. 6 USB ports again. Again with the PS2, people have been mentioning that. Again, I don't understand why we've still got PS2 ports, but whatever. So
because if you're building something this cheap, it's almost probably going to end up being used in like a till machine or an EPOS or something like that. Or like interfacing with a barcode scanner or something like that.
Yeah, you could be, yeah. I mean, I guess they know more about it than you or I, so they'd know. But yeah. However, yeah, okay. Have we got M.2 on that? Oh, yeah, there it is, M.2, but it's backwards. Yeah, you got an M.2 slot on there, that's fine. Because no M.2 would be a deal breaker. Absolute deal breaker. There's zero reason not to be using M.2 SSDs these days. So yeah.
Because I can use a hard drive and save even more money.
Don't even joke about that, man. Don't even joke. That's what Apple said about the iMac until 2021.
I'm sure you can still buy a 2021 iMac with a hard drive.
Actually, it's got a Fusion drive in it.
So a hard drive.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, this does not. I don't hate this. Yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah,
That actually doesn't
exactly.
look
And
awful.
it's like £55.
Yeah.
It's shockingly not terrible.
Yeah, that seems like the Gigabyte B450M DS3H, the B4 DS3H, yeah, was my weapon of choice for cheap builds for a long time, and this looks like kind of a modern version of that. Like the DS3H had V-Core heat sinks. Yeah, I did say that right. And this doesn't have anything, but again, I doubt it matters up to mid-range CPUs. So yeah, I could pay £60 to have it professionally installed. So yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, sure.
That professional installation thing, I can't remember what it came up on, but I was just like,
Bitwit. Yeah, Kyle from Bitwit did a video about it where he bought it and he arranged to have the Amazon man come and fit it. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it was horrendous and it was a big old rip-off, basically. It was horrendous. Oh, that's right. They basically so you pay your £50. And then Amazon will basically.
I think it was actually like $200 and something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. It was like $50 on Amazon, and then Amazon basically arranged. They find someone local to come around and fit it. Then that person showed up and was like, "Yeah, that's going to be $200." And Kyle is like, "No, I paid my $50 on Amazon." And they're like, "Well, I'm not going to fit it then," kind of thing. And that was essentially what was going on. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was pretty terrible.
I can't remember what it was for. I think it was for like a USB flash drive. And it said,
no.
"Do you want this, to pay the professional installation for it?" And I was like, what?
They overcharged like mad and didn't show up. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Can I buy a flash drive and have it professionally installed? Sorry, I'm just going to check this now. No. Oh, not on that. No, not on that.
It just randomly came up on something, and I was just like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah.
What? Okay, but yeah, I can understand it for some of the stuff, but at the same time, I'm just like, no,
Yeah.
no thanks.
Yeah, Sai just said, "I want to become an Amazon tech and do that," but you can't figure out how to sign up. That would legitimately be interesting, actually. That might, because you could become the Amazon tech and actually do a good job. But then the problem is, I bet you get paid peanuts for it, though. I bet it's not economically viable. I bet it's not actually economically viable to do it, which is why Bitwit Kyle got scammed, effectively. That would be my guess.
Exactly.
Let's see. Mad Pegasus Max said, buy a bad motherboard and you're stuck with a bad motherboard. Buy a good one, middle CPU and GPU, you can upgrade it later. Yeah, it depends. It's all a balance, I guess. It's all a balance. It depends on, it's a question of, like, a lot of people, this is when we get into the realms of future-proofing, is people say, "Oh, I'm going to buy this and then I'll upgrade it later on down the line." It's like, yeah, but you won't.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure there's some people in the audience who would be like, "Actually, I can and I did." And there's going to be people who did. But
it's like,
it's future-proofing is future-proofing is a very dangerous term. There's a time that I think there is a time and a place for it, and I do agree to an extent where there are certain times where I'd be like, yes, I agree, buy something that's slightly better so you've got the upgradability in the future. It depends. It does depend on the build. Like, I think when we're looking at that A520 motherboard, the kind of build I would do that in, that would be for like someone's home office computer, where I'm probably going to be putting like a Ryzen 3200 or 3400G in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or in this case, maybe a these days maybe a 5400G whenever it comes out and whenever you can buy it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you're probably going to put that in there, and the computer's never going to get upgraded in its life, so it doesn't matter.
Or maybe a case of what happens right at the end of its life is it gets a different SSD and it gets slightly more RAM.
Yeah, that's
Kind of
right.
thing. Because
However,
DDR4 by that time is down the back of your sofa, old
yeah,
junk, because we've moved on to DDR5
yeah,
and the
yeah.
PC's like nearly 10 years old. That's the only time it'll get ever sort of upgrade.
Yeah. But then on the flip side, if you're a gamer and you're trying to build on a shoestring budget and you're building cheap with the intention to upgrade later on down the line, which is not it's not the best value for money way to do it because you'll end up spending more in the long run. But you might be doing that just because you can't afford the upfront cost. You could, you know, you can afford a grand over a 2-year period, but you can't afford £800 today, you know. So that's the time where some well-spec'd future-proofing might make sense. So yeah,
Absolutely. It
you have
depends
to
on
look
the
at
situation you're looking for. It's also the case of like that A520MH. You're looking at that because you're trying to build a computer for the absolute lowest price possible.
yeah.
That's what you're looking at it for. You're not looking at it from a, future upgrades point of view or anything like that. It's an absolute minimum cost possible.
Yeah. Yeah, building a custom PC at their home is not a lucrative business, also mental hard. Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's a reason why I don't do call-outs anymore. I hate working on site, man. I hate it. Yeah. And I like on the rare occasions when I would be on site, it was, if ever an option, I'd be like, cool, can I take your computer away and bring it back tomorrow? You know, and I doubt you'd be allowed to do that if you were working for Amazon. You know, I say working for Amazon in air quotes, whatever that agreement entails, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. It's like certainly for that, I would do call outs and stuff. And so on, but obviously it's a case that you'd have to charge so much more for the same job.
Yeah.
It's a case of if, your computer just needs a general service. Sure, I'll do that for, say, £50 in the shop.
My flat fee service is £50.
But if I'm doing it in your house, I'm going to be charging you £500.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because I need to charge you for an entire day's work.
Yeah.
Because I can do no other work. So I have to generate more than a day's worth of income from you to make it worthwhile me losing out on all of that other work, which I still have to do.
Yeah, that's just it. The only way that sort of a computer repair chap is economic is being able to work on multiple stuff at the same time. Either that or you just have to have a clientele who don't mind paying through the nose. Like certainly if you live in certain areas, like I live in a semi-rural area, there's lots of big country homes around here, owned by people who probably have more money than God. And if a tradesman showed up and plugged in their broadband router and charged them £200 for the privilege, they'd probably be like, yeah, sure, bill me. And not in a nice way, just because they don't care about you, because you're literally a tradesman to them and you have to come through the back exit, you know. And if you've got a clientele like that, then no problem. But you know, if you're trying to, if your market is the lower middle class who are in semi-detached houses on a council estate, you know, and you turn around and you say, yeah, I'm going to have to charge you £100 for this visit, they're going to be like, oh. And that means you're stuck in that horrible situation where you're trying not to rinse the customer, but at the same token, you got to make a living.
Yeah.
What do you do, man?
And I think
at that point, the business model doesn't make sense.
I think a case that you need to charge a call out fee. You have to charge a call out fee plus whatever the cost of actually fixing it is.
Yeah. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And but then I think also I think the only other issue as well is a mixture of both my mental process and the customer's perception is computer repairs and computer servicing also needs to be seen as a skilled trade, like a plumber or an electrician. Because if I called out a plumber or an electrician to my house and they charged me 80 quid call out fee, I'd be like, sure, I guess that's the going rate for a plumber or an electrician. But yeah, I mean, I haven't checked, But I get the feeling that if I rocked up and charged 80 quid call out fee to take a look at someone's computer before fixing it, just the call out fee, they'd tell me to jog on, because they'd be like, oh, you're just here to play on the computer. And I'm like, no, I'm a skilled tradesman. I'm not playing on your computer. You need this computer because you told me you can't be without it, you know?
As far as I'm aware, at least in the few situations where I've dealt with anyone, is I haven't had a call out fee charged when they've not fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing, yeah, that's the thing. The thing is like I'm kind of speaking from ignorance here, because I've been working in a shop behind a counter for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a long time since I've done call outs. So I'm very out of touch with that scene, you know.
I would, yeah, it's a case that also it doesn't matter what you charge if you tell the person before anything happens, this is what my cost is.
That's true. Transparency is always king. If you're people don't like being scammed, but they will pay more if they agreed to it. You know, it's a lot like when you're buying secondhand stuff, you know, like when customers come in wanting to sell secondhand components, you know, I will say to them, I'll offer you this much for it. This is half the amount that you would get for it on eBay. However, I'll put cash in your hand right now. And, you know, so essentially, you know, I'm offering them a pittance for their stuff, but they'll walk out with a fistful of fivers. Whereas on eBay, they've got to list it, they've got to sell it, they've got to pay the fees, they've got to post it, they've got to deal with the dick who bought it and then sent it back to them, you know. So and you know, you say to the customer, and you say, so these are your choices, and they'll usually say, absolutely, give me a fist of fivers. I will quite happily take that, because then it's done and this is not my problem anymore. And that's how I bought a pair of 1070s for £200 last week. You know, I offered him a song and he was just like, I'll take your money. You know, I was like, these are worth double on eBay straight away. However, I'll put cash in your hand right now, you know? So yeah.
Exactly. But it's, yeah, it's just from when I was doing call outs, very much a case of like, I remember just a customer getting very funny and not wanting to pay the call out, you know, to pay for the thing that was fixed.
Yeah.
Because like we went away and then they phoned up like a day later saying like, oh, you deleted all the data on my computer and you filled it up with porn and all of this stuff. And we're just like, no, we didn't.
That didn't happen.
I plugged in the audio cable from your speakers to your computer so you had sound. And then went, there you go, it was done. It only took 5 minutes. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You know, and then they're like, no, we must pay you because you came out to us. I was like, cool, that's fine. You know, you can come down to a shop later. And then they phoned up claiming all this stuff. And we're just like,
yeah, I don't know. Just, yeah, some people, yeah.
I said you didn't have to pay us.
Yeah.
Because I literally walked to your house, walked back again, spent 30 minutes, got a walk out of it kind of thing.
Yeah, there are some jobs where you're like, you know what, that one's on me, yeah. Because
I'm not fussed, but then they were like trying to get out of having to pay for something they didn't have to pay for.
How
odd. Making all this stuff up about like me abusing their husband and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah, this is the problem with computers as well, is that there's so many side effects that can occur, you know, where like you'll work on someone's computer and a week after they pick it up, something else will happen to it and they'll say, oh, you fixed my computer last week and now X doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, with respect, that's nothing to do with the work that I did on your computer. Now, from their perspective, either maliciously or through ignorance, they're just like, you worked on it and now it has this problem. It did not have that problem before you worked on it. And whereas I'm just like, I'm sorry, that's a separate issue, you know. Now, if it's not a big deal, I'll be like, that's fine, bring it in. Because like what I say, when people pick up their computers, I say, if there are any problems, bring it back in and we'll look at it free of charge. I don't say I'll fix it free of charge. I say, we'll look at it free of charge. You know, just the point is, if you have an issue, come and talk to us. Don't just go somewhere else and badmouth me. Come and talk to me, and we'll see what we can do. And that's the thing is, and like now and then I've had people who have gone somewhere else, and then they've called up and said, oh, it wasn't right, so I took it somewhere else, and they've charged me another £100 or £200. So now I want a refund from you. And I'm like, well, no, firstly, you took it somewhere else. Our warranty and our business transactions are null and void. You went somewhere else, son. Our business relationship is over. And secondly, if you'd done what I said and brought it back to me, I'd have sorted this out for free. So you've just paid someone else another £100 to fix a problem that I would have resolved for free. So no, do not pass go, do not collect £200. So yeah, but yeah, it's just, I think it's just perks of the business, you know. Like I'm seeing some size story here saying, you know, you know, when he's gone to a call out, you look at it, you quote them, and they say, oh, actually, it's not that important. I'll think about it, you know. And I get that now and then. People bring in their computer, and I say, yeah, it's probably going to cost about this much. And they're like, okay, and they leave it there, and they book it in. Then like half a day later, they come back, and they say, oh, I left my computer with you earlier on. I've changed my mind, and I want to take it away again. And I'm just like, okay. I give it back to them, you know. And I'm just like, yeah. And you get the feeling that they came back and they were expecting that if they threatened to take it away, you'd suddenly go, oh, well, actually, we can do it cheaper than that to try and hold on to the work, you know. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to mess around with you. You leave it here or don't leave it here. If you're not leaving it here, get the heck out my shop. I've got work to do, you know. Yeah.
I have very similar conversations with lots of people at work, stuff, and I'm just like, I have enough work for you to not be my client.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You've got a problem, and it's not my problem.
Yeah.
Not you having a problem isn't my problem, but you've got a problem with something that isn't my problem.
Yeah.
Okay, go away. It's like someone, through their own incompetence, didn't reply to our emails.
Yeah.
About something, so something expired.
Yeah.
I phoned them and said, this is expired. You know, is this in error?
Yeah.
And then they start going about, oh, you don't care about us as a client, blah, 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 blah. This just slipped through the net. You know, that's why you're making all these excuses. And my response was, I'm not making an excuse. I phoned you up to make sure this was okay.
Yeah.
That it had lapsed. If you've got a problem with it's gone on here, actually off.
Yeah.
And I actually told them that verbatim.
Yeah.
And then just hung up.
Yeah. And this is the thing, it's just, you know, customers always right mentality. But that much being said, I say this and I bitch about it and I say, I think it's a problem with the industry and stuff like that. How I'm saying, I've got to put this heckin' ringing phone somewhere that's not next to my microphone. Don't know who's trying to call me at, well, it's 10 to 6. I'd be open until 6 on a weekday, whatever. Anyway, yeah. My mate, John, the electrician who did my awesome lights and everything, he often, like every now and then he has a bad day kind of thing. And, you know, we'll be chatting on Discord when we play some Age of Empires on a Monday. And, you know, he'll join the chat and we're just like, oh, John, how's it going? And he's like, I'm tired. And you know, sometimes he said, and we're just like, oh, bad day. And like, there was one time where he's just like, where he said words to the effect of, one of those days that makes you want to quit, you know? And I'm just like, oh, you know the feel, you know? And that's the thing is, he's an electrician. So obviously people are, you know, I say sort of people expect to pay 60, 70, 80 pounds for a call out. But yet from the stories that he tells me, I don't think that's entirely accurate. And he gets just as much hassle for various other reasons as well. When he rocks up to someone's house to look at some death trap sockets and he's like, we need to do this, this and this to make this safe. And they're like, oh, I don't want any of that. And he's like, well, it's going to be a death trap then. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to sign, I won't work on something and leave it as a death trap because then I'm liable for it.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem when you're an electrician or a plumber. Like if we fix a computer and the computer doesn't work, you know, the worst is you inconvenience someone. But if you're an electrician or a plumber and you leave something as a death trap, that's going to flood someone's house. It's going to set someone's house on fire. It's going to kill someone.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just people, man. What a bunch of bastards.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, we're leaving.
Yes, I was going to say my alarm has gone off and I'm seeing people going, it's your 2-hour alarm call. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation in English.
Goodbye.
Right, yes. Well, yeah, I think we're at a good closing point now. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We are going to head out because it's been 2 hours and we're cutting these off at 2 hours. This has been a good rant. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. The public suck. They sure do. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for everything else. And we'll be back next Saturday at the usual time for another 2-hour stream tops. So yeah, thank you all. Approximately. Yes. Yep. Thank you all. I'm going to hit stop streaming. Cheerio. Bye.
Au revoir. Salut.